Neetu, how do you see the situation as you deal with this vulnerable sections of the society? Those people who are not that affluent, they may not afford, as Tilottama was rightly pointing out, that most of us in the metropolitan cities live in 2 BHKs or maybe a maximum a 3 BHK apartment. So what about these people who can't have the luxury of having multiple rooms and who have the highest of insecurity to lose their jobs, and then mental health, abuse in the home? How do you see this situation, Neetu? Over to you.
Thank you, Pratika, and namaskar, everyone. Yes, it's a very very relevant question. Like all the esteemed panelists have just shared. So when we're talking about women, it's the diversity that we have amongst women. Some are from affluent families, some are middle class, some are low income group families. Some would have space, physical space to manage their work. Some would just be living in just one bedroom or one room home. Especially the place from where I come, I work in an NGO, and most of our team members are grassroots level workers. They're people who belong to the same communities where we work, and most of them would just have one room houses, and a majority of them are into teaching, reaching out and teaching children and youth. And so they would also have to conduct online classes every day. And being an NGO, a grassroots level organization, the kind of equipments, the kind of support system that they would have, they may, all of them may not have laptops. They may have to operate from their own low end smartphones. So having those challenges in terms of the physical environment, in terms of the competence, and in terms of the kind of the flexibility that we can give to them, it adds to the kind of pressure that women are already facing at home, and most of them would already be involved in doing everything all on their own, taking care of their own children, taking care of the houses, and ensuring that they perform to the extent that their jobs are secured. So that kind of an underlying fear is always there, irrespective of whether the sector in which we are working. Tilotama has very beautifully pointed out that underlying fear and apprehension that if you don't perform, you might end up losing job. Maybe one of the partner has already lost the job. So this we've seen during the pandemic, that these kinds of challenges are also weighing heavily on people's mind. So what we have to do, what has worked for my organization, what has worked for my team members, are very simple tools which has really helped them to kind of face the challenges and embrace them and work out solutions. So I would just be focusing more on the solutions, now that the esteemed panelists have already talked a lot about the problems and the challenges that women are facing. So there may be challenges with respect to the children, children's education. There may be challenges with respect to having a small child at home, maybe being a single parent, or having in-laws who are not too supportive, a husband who's not too supportive. So there can be multiple challenges across different sections. So if you're in a leadership position, you may have different set of challenges, and if you're in a middle management or a lower management, you will have a different set of challenges to face. So how do we kind of address these challenges? What has worked beautifully for me personally and for my team members, I'll just share quickly some tips around that. First of all, we need to understand and scan our environment. We have to understand and embrace and accept the environment which which where we belong. So if we are in a one room house, we have to accept it. If we are in a if we have small children who with no support of the in-laws or our husband, we have to accept it. So understand and scan the environment where we live. So that will help us to identify the deviating factors that will affect our performance, that is affecting our health, that is affecting our well-being, and that is also affecting the work performance with respect to where we work. So understanding and scanning environment becomes paramount, very very important, and listing the deviating factors becomes very important. So when you list down the deviating factors, very specifically, you are also able to devise strategies specifically to address those deviating factors. So that helps. For instance, if you have, if I have a co-worker who has a small child at home, and the child wakes up and at around 10 a.m. So what she used to do is she used to get up early in the morning at around about 5 and 6, finish her office work during those early morning hours, so that she can spend time with that child when the child gets up. And then, if you have children who are in school going age and they're online classes, then you also can, if your office permits the flexibility, you also can organize your working hours in a manner that you're able to attend the child's educational facilitation that needs to be done, as well as your own work. So understand where the deviating factors are, and also understand as a person what kind of, where what time of the day is your efficiency at the highest in terms of your work. I would be focusing more on the performance of the of in terms of workplace. So if you are a morning person, try and finish all your work during in the early hours. If you're a night person, then you can finish all your work at housework during the day, and then focus on your work during at little late hours at night. So those kind of listing down deviating factors and understanding your own temperament helps. So once you also understand the deviating factors, then you can seek, like panelist prior to that has spoken, that you can also seek help and support from your family members. I have seen, on a lighter note, women who have this issue of saying, आप रहने दो मैं कर लूंगी. There are a lot of women who have this habit of, अरे आप छोड़ो मैं कर लूंगी. So these are the category of women who faced a lot of problem during this pandemic, because they feel that it's a sin asking a husband to clean the dishes. It's a sin asking seeing some elderly to support, and they want to be superwoman doing everything on their own. This is not going to work. We are not superwomen. We have to accept and embrace our weaknesses. We have to accept our imperfections, and also don't shy away from sharing those imperfections with the family. I am not a very good cook. My husband is a great cook. So I don't shy away from saying that, this is something which I can't do. And if you are doing better than me, why can't you do it? Why don't you help? I have an important meeting. Why can't you clean the dishes? Why are we shying away from asking for help? And another problem that we women have is assuming. So we assume that people will look at us and they will understand that we need help. And then we expect, and then we sulk. So don't expect, express and ask for help, and they will help. I've seen husbands who have not been used to working in house, but now with pandemic and with lockdowns, and they've started beautifully contributing in the homes, because the wives have started expressing it. So there's no tussle, and there's no ego asking for help, and there's no there's no point showing off that you're a superwoman, you're capable of doing everything on your own. No, you have to ask for help and communicate clearly. Clear communication works wonders in office space as well as in homes. So we have to communicate clearly and ask for help. Also, you need also understand what all kinds of things, small things can be delegated. For example, if you have children who are into their teens, if you have children, 9-10-year-old children, they can do small things which takes a lot of your time. We don't realize it. I have my daughter, I've taught her few things which literally saves my time, like making salads. So why can't she make salads? So she's learned salads, and when I'm in a meeting, I've taught her how to make tea. So she started making tea for me. So so she knows at 6 o'clock mama needs tea. So you have to also train your children in helping you with household work. So you have to also tell them that these are the things which are your accountability. like dusting, cleaning, simple, dusting shelves and organizing their own wardrobes, organizing their own rooms, helping in the kitchen with some, things, maybe making salad. So you have to identify, as according to the age groups of the children, what all can be delegated to your children, what all can be delegated to your husband. But you have to also work in very close coordination with them, so that that support system is there. And the other thing that also works is that you have to also understand that when we are talking about mental health, when we are talking about our physical health, planning works wonders. So if you have to also plan your week in advance, as to, I also tend to plan my entire week as to how, what all would be the menu of the day during the week, so that I organize it and I align it with my work goals. Because if there are days when I have back to back meetings, I don't shy away from cooking few things early in the morning and just keeping it, and I keep my dishes all, lying till the end of the day. And if I do it, I do it. My husband is there, he does it. So you have to also align your home goals and your work goals, because those two have to be intervened beautifully and complement each other beautifully. They cannot work as separate, two things. So that alignment, when you are aligning things, it also helps to organize few things beautifully. So when you are organized and when you are planned, plan things beautifully and organize them meticulously, then a lot of your mental, the burnout, the mental stress, it reduces to a lot. The last point that I want to make is that, women, we as women, we need to understand two things. Number one, we have to support other women. We have to create this culture of supporting. So if in workplace, we must empathize with, our team members. If we are at a senior position, we must empathize and instill that trust in our co-workers, and give them that flexibility, if the work, the sector allows, to perform as per their own convenience. The things that worked for us as an organization is we set weekly goals for our team members, so that we are not after them every day, every hour, as to, tell us where are you, what are you doing. So as long as the outputs of the week are achieved, you're fine. If they're doing it during the day, if you're doing it as per their convenience, these people are managing, so that, that micromanagement is not there, and that, that stress is not there. So you have to also organize as senior people in the team, to see how do you also reduce that micromanagement and instill trust and faith. Because when we give freedom to our team members, then they also perform, their efficiency increase. So say one. Number two, at home, we are all talking about, husbands not doing, you're not used to that stereotypical expectations, the mindset. Have we started working on that mindset for our own children, for our own boys? Because the onus lies on us now. So, or maybe after a decade, we will be talking about the same issues. Have we started instilling that sense of responsibility in our own sons? Right now, have we started giving them that responsibility to participate and contribute in household work? Because that step has to start right away. So that onus again is on the mothers to instill that, to break that stereotypical upbringing, especially of boys, and start giving them responsibilities. So these are the few things which has worked well for us as an organization, which has worked well for me as an individual. So just delegate as much as possible. And women who have literally have invested time in setting up these examples of balance in the family and relationships, have managed to face these challenges of the pandemic beautifully. But the ones who could not break that mindset, nothing is lost. Even now we can begin right away as well. So let's start taking simple steps. Let's start taking those small steps, because small steps will contribute significantly to improve our overall well-being. That's it from my side, Pratika ji, and I'll be open for answering any
Thank you.
questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Neetu. Thank you. Very, rightly pointed out that embracing the environment is very important. In fact, we teach it to MBA students that they have to do a SWOT analysis and a pestle analysis, and I think that has to be applied at home as well. Thank you.
Yes.
Many a times we blame, shame, and name men that they are not cooperating and they are the ones because of whom we are suffering. But do you think this pandemic has also helped us to kind of revive our relationships with spouses or to teach our boys that yes, this is the way life is, you need to be equally participative, and this has been a boon rather than a bane for some of us at least. Neetu, what's your opinion on this?
Yes, yeah, very, very, valid question, Pratika ji. See, pandemic or no pandemic, there has to be a culture which has to be adopted across, and it has to promote well-being of everyone in the family and well-being of environment and well-being of society. So the culture that needs to be adopted by every family has to, be proactive. So whether it is a pandemic or whether it is not, so the families who adopt this culture of equality, of the right division of labor, the right equality, it really it will that family will thrive, and that family will face any challenge which may come individually or at the society and the community level, which we are seeing these days. So yes, for some families, yes, it has really proved to be a boon, because husbands, one of our panelists initially was sharing that now husbands have seen, or maybe you were sharing that now they've seen you working, that how much of hard work you're putting in your work, and they've started respecting your work. So when your children, and you involve your children and your family members and your spouse in the kind of work that you do, they start respecting you more, and they start appreciating the boundaries that you set for yourself and for them. So it is very, yes, it has worked really well for a lot of families who have started appreciating each other, who started respecting each other's boundaries and this and space, and who started appreciating that housework is also not a it's not a small thing, it cannot be taken for granted. So husbands have started realizing that yes, it is a big deal to kind of clean dishes. Now they cannot come back and say that what do you do the whole day, for women who are not working, because now they know that it takes a lot of effort to even do a simple just cooking one meal for the family. So it definitely has worked well. But yes, going forward, the biggest lesson that we as families can learn, we as parents can learn, is what kind of culture henceforth are now we're now promoting in our families. What kind of mindset are we now instilling in our children? It's very important, so that any challenge which comes in future, the family is able to meet it as one strong with one strong bond, and with aligning all their the boundaries, and aligning all their mindset together.
Absolutely, Vinita. Very rightly pointed out that I think time has come when we educated women, at least educate our family members about what we call gender equality, and everybody is equal and everybody shares equal responsibility. Padmavati, you there? Yeah. So you talked about rewarding the female employees with a lot of things, and you talked about the three major categories who have been impacted: the working mothers, women in senior management profile, and the Indian woman. How are you taking care of the situation with the men? I want to ask this question because so far we have talking, though the broader, topic also says it's about women, but the men who are also equally contributing to the success of the company. What about them? Are there any policies, any rewarding system, anything for them at place, Padmavati?
Thanks, Pratika,
Padmavati?
for this.
Yeah.
Hello, Pratika, are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
Dr.
we can
Pratika?
hear. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for this wonderful question, Dr. Pratika. In fact, while we were designing our policies, this was one of the point which was raised by our employees, that we are just focusing on women, 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 and if we have to become an all inclusive organization, then it has to be all the genders, all the communities, everyone has to be accommodated. And as we know that men are also equally in the home. Now with the pandemic, it has become very evident that yes, men are capable of contributing, and they have done their part well. So as part of our series, one of the series that we have is, we used to have a super mom series, wherein we used to ask our employees to discuss, to narrate their journeys of their mothers or mother-in-laws who have been instrumental in promoting their careers and all, while they were also working. So essentially it was about mothers and mother-in-laws to narrate their journey. How did they manage both their work and home, and were also instrumental in their children's success story. So that was pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic we also introduced the Super Dad series, because what we found out
Oh,
was
wow.
that it was not just moms, now dads are also contributing. So how, in which ways dads are bringing to the table the kind of support and the kind of ecosystem that would promote equality and diversity at home. So that's one of the initiatives that we have bring forth, which is our Super Dad series, wherein dads come and they tell the stories of how they are contributing at work with their homes. Also to break gender stereotypes, encourage a culture of mindset shift for our senior women professionals. We are encouraging our senior women professionals to share their personal experiences with their team members along with their spouses, so along with their husbands, so that both of them, they are able to share how together they are able to create that culture of equality and support in their home, and also supporting each other in their own career as a power couple. So these are few of the initiatives. And when we are also very mindful in our communication. When we communicate, we just don't say that it's only the ladies of the house who are responsible, the crutches and all. So it's not that we are helping out our ladies with the crutches and all. We say it's both for our working moms and for our working dads to avail this opportunity. So in our communication also, we are very cautious about that, because as I mentioned, that unconscious bias, it looms in our brain, but we are not very conscious about it. So whenever it comes to taking care of the kids, we always say it's working moms. This is a special sort of offer that we have for our working moms. But now we have made it very clear that it's for our working dads as well. So that's
Oh, wow.
from my side, Pratika.
Yeah.
I have
Wow,
one
this
more.
is a wow.
Thank
Yeah, there's one more thing which I want to tell you, that one of
Yeah.
my HR friends, so I will not like to quote the name of the organization, they started something which is called as the Pink Lady Voice Initiative. So what happens is, on a weekly basis, they tell all the working women community to come out with one or the other, either a problem or a solution. So, for example, like how you have a Monkey Bath initiative, similarly there's a Pink Lady Voice, and then they will ask those women that what are the challenges they're facing, and it goes to the chairman's desk. So there's a CSR and the chairman and the CHRO who sits and tries to address them. That how, and I think this is the best part which the organizations are trying to do for women well-being.
Awesome, awesome, Aarti. I think this pink lady voice and working dads, that's something very heartening to know. Now, after this wonderful discussion, we would like to take few questions from the audience. So, the first question is by a student named Tanushri. Tanushri, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Tanushri?
First
Yes,
of
Tanushri. Yeah.
yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank SBU and Susmita ma'am for giving me the opportunity to listen to all of you. It was really enlightening. My question to you is, there are some cases where during COVID, the husband has lost his job, as Neetu ma'am said, and the wife is working, and there's a lot of mental pressure on the women during this situation, and especially if the woman is staying in a joint family where she has to fulfill so many responsibility as well. So how can one cope with it?
So this question is directed to whom, Tanushri?
Neetu ma'am.
Okay, Neetu, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Tanushree. Yes. Then the wife also assumes the role of a counselor here because the husband has lost the job and she has to take care of all the, the housework. And she also cannot, if the husband is had been a supportive husband, that's fine. If he had not been a supportive husband, the situation becomes very tricky as to, if the wife starts asking the husband to contribute in the household work, the husband might start feeling that, now that I have lost the job, she's asking me to contribute, so that may also affect the mental health of the husband. So it becomes very, very important as to how do you articulate and how do you communicate so that the words are reassuring. At the same time, the required support is also elicited from the husband who's lost the job. So you also have to reassure the husband and support morally, because the husband has lost a job. In fact, it has happened in a lot of our people that I have known in my own relatives, where the wife was a teacher and the husband had his own work, he had his own shop, but because of the lockdown and other things, the shop closed down, and the husband had never worked at house at all, during all his life. The wife started getting that pressure of household work. She has two boys who are growing up and who would want to eat the whole day. So she was fed up with cooking and then supporting the husband morally and being a supportive wife. Somewhere you also need to understand as to how do you draw your boundaries, because at that time your own mental health and well-being becomes very important, because only when you are strong enough physically and mentally you will be able to support others. You cannot do it at the cost of your own health and peace of mind. That also has to be understood. So the boundaries that you create, the body language that you create at that time becomes very, very important. You don't have to be arrogant that now you become the bread earner of the family and you do this and you do this. You have to create that supportive environment, reassure the husband, but also start, it becomes a very critical thing to get that support from him and also reassure. So that is a very again, the onus comes on women to counsel the family members in that case and take that support all along. Three key things become very important. Number one, your articulation skills. How do you articulate? How do you talk to the husband who's already facing a lot of mental trauma because of the job, and but you do want to get that work? How do you ensure that your own peace of mind and your own your own health is assured, because that is very important. And third thing is that how do you bring together everybody in the family as one strong family to support each other and respect whatever it is. So that becomes very important. Again, the family culture becomes very important and critical at this point of time. So yes, so I would suggest in this case, the health of the family becomes the most important. The mental health needs to be assured, and right communication will help.
Right, right. Thank you, Neetu.